Let's jump right into this explainer and demystify the subtle, yet absolutely critical, differences between the 6 main CPT codes for PICC line insertions. If you spend any time staring at medical charts, you know placing a PICC line is incredibly common. But the coding manual? Well, it's a web of specific rules, trapdoors, and variations that'll easily lead to a denied claim if you're not paying close attention. So we're going to break all of that down today. Here's our roadmap. We're covering the core PICC logic, coding without imaging guidance, coding with imaging guidance, PICC lines with ports, and finally those strict bundling rules and modifiers. Starting off with Section 1, the core PICC logic, building the flowchart. When you're looking at a patient's chart for a PICC insertion, you might wonder, what's the primary fork in the road for choosing the right code block? You've got a patient, you've got a successful insertion, but where do you look first? It's actually not about the device itself right off the bat, and it's not about the specific vein either. It all comes down to our rule of 5. This is the constant dividing line you have to ask yourself first. Is the patient under 5 or 5 and older? Across almost all the PICC insertion codes we're discussing today, patient age creates a massive split. You'll always have a specific code for the little ones and a separate corresponding code for anyone age 5 or older. Lock this rule of 5 into your mind because it's the engine driving our entire flowchart.
Moving on to Section 2, coding without imaging guidance, the baseline.
For this scenario, imagine you're placing a bedside PICC on the floor. It's your everyday, standard operating procedure. You just follow 3 simple steps. First, confirm there's no subcutaneous port or pump involved. Second, confirm that absolutely 0 imaging guidance was used. And third, apply our trusty rule of 5 and check the patient's age. Now here is a massive trip up for a lot of coders. What if the provider uses magnetic guidance? Well, even if they use magnetic tracking or do it bedside rather than in radiology, you still have to report it as without imaging. Magnetic guidance does not magically upgrade your code to the imaging category. The manual is super rigid about this.
So applying our rule of 5 to this non-imaging scenario gives us exactly 2 outcomes. You're looking at code 36568 for the little ones under 5 and 36569 for anyone 5 and older. If you see documentation for a bedside PICC with no sub-Q port and no true imaging guidance, your brain should immediately snap to this 36568 and 36569 pairing.
Section 3. Coding with imaging guidance, add in complexity. Let's see what happens when radiology actually gets involved. We're stepping off the standard hospital floor and introducing technology that warrants a totally different set of codes. It's vital to understand what the manual means by imaging included. These specific codes wrap the entire radiological process into one neat package. You aren't just coding for the physical insertion of the tube. You're simultaneously capturing the imaging guidance, the image documentation, and the radiological supervision and interpretation. It is a fully bundled service. When imaging guidance is fully utilized, we just pivot to code 36572 for patients under 5 and 36573 for those 5 and up. Just like our baseline codes, we assume there's no subcutaneous port involved. But because we added that comprehensive imaging package, we leave the 3650/60 series in the dust and upgrade to 36572 and 36573. Think of this as your ultimate mental cheat sheet. There's a perfect symmetry here. Whether you're using imaging or not, the patient's age, that rule of 5, always dictates your final code. Lock that logic in, and you can instantly select the right baseline code for a standard PICC insertion without a second thought. Let's jump to Section 4, PICC lines with ports, the hardware shift. Here's a distinct variation in our flowchart. What happens when the device includes a subcutaneous port? This physically changes the hardware, which means we branch off to a completely new area of the decision tree. These devices are unique because everything is neatly tucked away internally. The catheter goes through an arm or leg vein, but it's attached to a port implanted entirely under the skin. No part of the catheter remains outside the body. It's a completely closed internal system. Once again, our trusty rule of 5 dictates the outcome. For these sub-Q port insertions, we land on code 36570 for the youngest patients and 36571 for everyone else. So if your documentation notes a subcutaneous port attached to that peripherally inserted line, you bypass the previous codes entirely and land right here on 36570 or 36571. Finally, Section 5, Bundling Rules and Modifiers, the Trapdoors. This is arguably the most critical part of our explainer, because understanding the primary codes is only half the battle. Knowing what you are strictly forbidden from reporting alongside them, that's what makes you a true expert. Remember how we talked about those with imaging codes being an all-inclusive package? Well, the coding manual prohibits double dipping. Codes like 36572, 36573, and the replacement code 36584 already include confirmation of the catheter tip location. You absolutely cannot separately bill for services that are baked right into the primary code. Consider this your strict do not do this checklist. Reporting supplementary imaging codes alongside your primary PICC codes is a major compliance red flag. It is never appropriate to report ultrasonic guidance code 76937 or fluoroscopic guidance code 77001 with any of our standard PICC codes. And because tip confirmation is included, you cannot have the same provider report chest X-ray codes 71045 through 71048 just to document the final position. The manual simply won't allow it.
But what happens when things don't go perfectly according to plan and you have to skip a step?
In the real world of medicine, sometimes you intend to do the full bundled service, but for whatever clinical reason, a piece of that puzzle doesn't happen. If you place or replace a PICC line and nobody performs the imaging confirmation of the catheter tip location, you have to use modifier 52. You still report your appropriate code, but you slap modifier 52 on it to denote a reduced service. It tells the reviewers, hey, we did the procedure, but we didn't do this specific, normally bundled part of it. It's essential for keeping your coding accurate.
We've built the flowchart. You know how to separate by age, how to define imaging versus bedside placement, how to handle sub-Q ports, and exactly how to avoid those deadly double-dipping trapdoors. The logic is totally clear. So armed with all this, I challenge you to apply this to your very next chart. Will you let the trapdoors catch you, or will your next claim navigate this decision tree flawlessly?